Welcome to NepoPod, our artisanally curated network, because we all have connections. Hi, so I'm Michelle, and today we're speaking with Karen Monaghan about Just Bring It Back, a movement that she's actually starting, and Our Kinds, the vehicle that she's using to drive that movement. So we met through the brilliant Dr. Andre Grozalski, through the Web3 conference, and the very effervescent Lan Tran. And I've actually recorded a steam-powered episode with her elsewhere, and I'll be linking that in the show notes as well. But today, we are going to be talking about the delightful Karen. So Karen, can you tell us a bit about Just Bring It Back and Our Kinds?
So Just Bring It Back is the concept we've developed. Our Kinds is eliminating single-use cups globally. And we're doing it in a different way. We're not a reusable cup model. In fact, we haven't produced a cup. So we discovered that consumers would bring a cup back if we removed all the blockers. So no cost, fines, sign-ups, nothing. Just borrow a cup, rinse it and bring it back. That's the core of the business in terms of how we avoid single-use cups. So we set cafes up with cup libraries essentially that don't run out.
That's very, very cool. So how did you come up with the idea to do Just Bring It Back?
So, and it's bigger than what I've just discussed. So the idea, well, first of all, my son gave me the nudge to look at the problem. So he was a barista in Melbourne during lockdown. His cafe didn't offer single-use cups, and they'd run out because people were forgetting to bring their cup back. They only had an hour to get out. He understood it was their cup of well-being, but they were getting a bit antsy with him because he couldn't make them a coffee. So he was just chatting with me one night and said, Mum, we need to change a habit for people, just like we did with supermarket bags. And I woke up the next morning and thought, well, he wasn't really asking me directly to solve it, but I am an experiential marketer. I've just come out of a startup and I've landed other businesses before, so let's have a crack. So I went to my local cafe owner and we did focus groups and we did an experiment. We bought 300 reusable cups, only offered them to locals and asked them to bring them back rinsed. And in 9 weeks, we avoided 10,000 single-use cups and lids. So that's where Just Bring It Back came from. We put QR codes on the bottom, and that's how we came to meet at Web3, because we knew that we would be able to measure this. So we'd be able to record the carbon cost of production of the cup, the size, the material of it, and how many cups or kilos of landfill we'd avoided from certain cafes. So it really started to become a much more sophisticated business. And in trialling it all and doing the focus groups with cafes, what we also realised was BYO cups would not work. So our original plan of designing and producing a reusable cup that we just thought would be, we'd make something that was simpler and more cost effective than what's already on the market. We realised there was no point doing that. That was not the problem. That the consumer behaviour and the friction points in the supply chain were the problem. So there's 8 friction points. And it's, will I lose a customer because they have to wait too long in the transition? Will I run out of reusable cup stock? How will I wash all the cups? How do I train my team? How do I manage the communication load? Will I need more space? Is it going to cost me more? And I've forgotten something, but there you go.
Yeah, but it just shows that is such a multi-factor problem. It's about the workflow in the cafes. It's about user behavior. Exactly. It's about supply chain going all the way up to where the cups are coming from and what happens after their end of life. This is not a small problem.
It's not a small problem, but all the solutions exist in the supply chain. The capacity is there. So we realised that through running some trials. We ran a trial in Fremantle in 2022. We were commissioned to roll out 12 cafes. We ended up with about 18, I think. Now, some of them are still running. One's at 50% reuse with only 200 cups. They avoid 52% of their single-use cups a year. And some have stopped. Others are waiting for us to solve some of these problems to keep going. So it's very much like small trials, see what the friction points are. But as we're trialling, we're seeing there is capacity in the supply chain. So we just need to tweak it here and there. So we're collaborating with councils, corporates, roasters, dishwashing companies, universities, and more all around Australia in different ways. So in some places, we've got little precincts where it's just flying, and other places where we've come to a standing stop. but we're learning from all of them and we're bringing back the knowledge to everyone as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, because all of them might run slightly differently, but overall,
Mm.
there's a lot of commonality in the way that you do need to run these hospitality businesses and the way that people will use these cups. And because you were telling me before that it's done something very interesting and it's changed behaviors, even for people who are regulars at cafes who go
Mm.
off and get single use cups elsewhere and they'll
Hmm.
walk past the cafe and kind of hide that they've got a single use cup because now they're actually thinking about it. They're fully aware of their behavior and their practices.
That's
And
right.
that's such a cool thing about the fact that you are creating a movement. You're creating awareness, you're creating behavioral change. And it's stuff that's going to
Hmm.
be slow, but as it builds and penetrates society, it's going to make everything else easier along the way. It's going to make the supply chain stuff easier. It's going to reduce friction for the cafes in the way that they handle their
Mm.
orders. Like all of it will just chain as it builds momentum.
Yeah, so there's a few different points in there, Michelle. It's like in the cafes, every second counts. So, a shot runs at about 24 to 27 seconds or something like that. And they tune the machines all day to make sure they get the shot in that perfect time. And everything else in the cafe needs to flow like that as well. So anything we do can't disrupt that. So, like our tech is too slow for cafes, so it's on hold and we're rescoping it just so that it can be instant for them. The other thing is about positive stigma. So yes, we had people walking past the corner store. If a regular walks past and they've got a single-use cup, they do try and hide it. But the other thing is that you've got people in the street on construction sites or, coming out of venture capital firms, which is ACE, they're trying it as well. And they bring the cups back in the afternoon when they don't even need a coffee. And they want to be seen with them. So they're swinging their arms or they've got a great big box and they're all proud and smiling as they deliver them back. So there is that thing about stigma. And we realised early on, standing on a corner with a single-use cup will be like smoking once we start to scale this. So we really look at scaling in hyper-local ways. So creating all of those different stakeholder relationships that I mentioned, from councils supporting communication and awareness of how it works, as well as local businesses getting on board and supporting their local cafes. An example of the supply chain is roasters. We did a quick trial with Dimatina Coffee and international students from UWA. We advertised a barista course for international students on a Wednesday night. It filled by the time we got into the office on Thursday morning. It was only 4. They came to Dimatina on Friday for a 2-hour session. Before that session, only 1 of 4 saw working in hospo as an employment opportunity for them. By the end of the 2 hours, all of them wanted to work in hospitality. When we spoke with the lead trainer around what we were trying to achieve, it took 10 minutes to reframe the training. So she went, oh my God, we trained for a single use. And so it's about building with the roasters, it's just about tweaking the kind of training they do and building the confidence of the new people that are coming through into the system so that they're confident to offer reuse. They understand why it's a better choice. We say don't push it. Like the more you offer it, if they're a regular, they'll eventually try it. But don't worry, they're more worried about paying their mortgage than choosing a reusable cup. So just lean on the relationship, make it friendly and easy. So that's a really simple way of how the supply chain, by just tweaking that reuse training, what we're doing is we trialled with a completely untapped employment market for a sector that can't get enough employees. So we're looking at international students, people with disability and Indigenous communities to bring through as potential baristas. So they understand how it works, so it takes pressure off the cafe. These guys become ambassadors for it, and we're pushing more people with skills into the community. And the roasters that we've engaged with around that really love the idea. It helps to give them a new revenue stream, and they're doing something great for their sector.
Yeah, absolutely. And the capacity building as well in all of
Mm,
these ways, not just for the
that's
skills
right.
and for occupations. You're not just learning how to be a barista. You're learning about service. You're learning about communication. You're learning about all these other things that you need, which are transferable skills, whether you're in hospitality or otherwise. And
Hmm.
yeah, people really underestimate these kinds of soft skills.
That's right. And you're learning about efficiencies. like where to make the offer, how to let it just slide, allow it to mature and come back to it another day, and just keep the flow behind the line, but also understand the efficiencies that you're gaining as well in not using single-use cups, etc., which are also lead to financial benefit further down the track. And they get a sense of just how much waste they're avoiding, and then they want to do more.
Yeah, and one of the stats that you've shared as well before, which like the World Economic Forum's also published it, saying that if you increase reuse by 10%, you reduce ocean waste by 50%, which is phenomenal when you think about the volume that actually is for such a
Yeah,
small increase in reuse. It's just that small mindset change that can make such a massive impact, and it's just teaching people that it can be done with very low friction, very low negative impact to their own workflows and the way that they do things in their life and their day to day.
that's
It's
right.
very cool.
Yeah, and the savings are exponential. So we say we eliminate single-use cups. So we don't just, it's not just about avoiding using it in that moment. We're stopping production of them because those cups are then not ordered and then won't be ordered over time. So at the corner store in Subiaco, once we got into the second year there, Hamish, he got to 100% reuse within 7 months for coffee cups. But then he brought in vessels for smoothies, iced coffees, muesli, all sorts of salads, etc. So jars. That year, he had 750 vessels that he'd top up with about 30 every few months to avoid over 50,000 single-use packaging items.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
And when you think about not just the volume of waste, but also the cost savings, because the margins, once you add single-use vessels for takeaway for a restaurant and a cafe, it adds up. And when you have
that's
to start
right.
complying with the no plastics, it reduces the margins even more. So yeah, being able
Yeah.
to use this is such a massive benefit in the long term.
Yeah, and I can give you another one. You've been here. You met me for a coffee at Cool Beans
Yeah,
in East Rio. Now, that's a really low-key, hole-in-the-wall cafe, isn't it? And they've got our second-hand cups that we procure by the pallet through Good Sammy. So that's another supply chain redesign where we're avoiding the waste of second-hand cups by buying them by the pallet from the charities, sizing them, putting stickers on the bottom that show what volume they are for the baristas and getting them back out into the supply chain. And Cool Beans have had about 200 secondhand cups in the last 12 months. Now, I can't say exactly how many cups they have saved, but I can tell you the percentage. It's over 52% of their coffee sales in
that's
the past
amazing.
12 months with 200 cups. It's significant.
Yeah, it is. And you don't need a lot to make that work for you once you've got the process in place. And it's,
Yeah.
to me, it's like efficiency times 10,000. It's amazing. So you've had to tackle so many different issues and
Mm.
pivot so many times in the process while you're figuring out where the pain points are. But
Yeah.
what's something super surprising that you've learned in the process of building our kinds?
It came from my most humbling moment when I had a session with Ernesto Ciroli, who's out of Silicon Valley, that did a PhD at Murdoch. So I knew of him through some WA people. And Ernesto said to me at the time, Karen, if you don't get a CMO, a CFO, and a CPO, you'll fail. He said, you're a great CEO. But you stuffed, mate, without them. So he didn't say mate, he's Italian. Anyway, that's
The thoughts
Karen.
there.
Yeah. Anyway, he said just find some grey haired folk that want to solve the problem and are prepared to do it for sweat equity. And I thought, oh, yeah, easy job. Anyway, I didn't realize how hard it would be, to be honest. I went out to my cohort saying, how do you reckon I find these people? And they were all like, good luck. You need to pay. And anyway, what I can share is that after 12 months of just continuing to move our kinds forward, starting to share the story every day on LinkedIn, networking the hell out of it, I've now secured a chief legal, a chief finance, a chief marketing, a chief product and tech, and a chief hospo for fractional sweat equity. So we have a killer team now, and they're all passionate. They're all absolutely invested and truly believe, and they work beautifully together. So, yeah, I can't believe it. It's just like,
It's absolutely amazing. And that's what you get when you find a bunch of people who share the same values and you're able to bring them on this ride with you to make a difference.
yeah, and everything comes out of role modeling. You've just got to hit role modeling. That's from me, every single person in the business. And we're a tiny team, but we know what the fail points are. We know how to overcome a lot of them. We're still investigating, but the addressable market for us, Michelle, just keeps exploding.
The fact that you're able to do all these things, and as you're building and you're finding out the pain points and you're ironing out the process, it is going to be a model that's going to allow all these businesses to meet SDG goals and all
That's
these
right.
other things that are needed for corporates to tick environmental boxes these days. Mercenary,
Yeah.
but very true. So it's great. You're giving them a way to be able to make marketable differences
Mm,
as well as ones that can actually be proven for the bottom line. It's very cool.
exactly. Well, because we're in consumer land, it's a daily habit, it's a daily choice. And so, for example, we're going to go into a CBD building in Brisbane in the next couple of months. And when we kick off with that cafe, we can provide photography, video, testimonials, data on cups avoidance, and case studies. Now, because of the approach we've taken with redesigning the supply chain, and we work with charities scooping secondhand cups back out of the waste stream, we hit like goal 12, production and consumption, really hard. But we also, by doing that and with the international student training we're doing and all that sort of thing, we actually hit about 14 of the 17 UN goals because there's training of people from more marginalised communities, there's employment for people who have trouble accessing mainstream employment. With our shared dishwashing schemes, we can save water and save energy. Everything is in partnership. So it's, all about sustainable cities and partnering for the goals. So we're all over them. So a lot of it is storytelling, but it's also stuff that because you see it in that every day and you get a sense of the shift that you're making as an individual, as a cafe, as a corporate in a building, as a whole building or as a community, there's plenty of ways in which you can share that actually do well in being included in your ESG reporting, which is now mandatory for our biggest polluters. So, that is another opportunity for us as well.
It's amazing because all of these works, all of these goals, and all of the ways that you're able to hit them, it's all very publicly role modelable. Everyone who participates in this becomes
Mm,
their own little ambassador for the behaviors, for the goals, for being able to achieve them. And it makes people
mm,
see that all of these things are very achievable to do in small ways, which
mm-hmm.
is yet another amazing thing to be able to achieve.
Yeah, I saw a little quote on a friend's newsletter this week, Tobin Trevathan out of San Francisco, and it was Confucius. A man moves a mountain one stone at a time. I don't know if I've said that exactly correctly, but yeah, we're eliminating single use cups globally, one cup at a time.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Probably a good place to wind up on that particular note. So, if people would like to learn more about our kinds and just bring it back, where can they go?
They can go to the website, ourkinds.com.au. I write nearly every day on LinkedIn. So Karen Monaghan, CEO, Our Kinds. Now, Insta and Facebook needs a bit of a refresh, but there's good background on there.
Amazing. And one last question for you before you go. What are you most excited for right now?
Well, we've known for a long time that reusable cups are not our competition because we can collaborate with other reusable cup models as we develop cup libraries. And we realised that the single use cup and the producers of those are our biggest competition. Now, this is not a good problem, but it's single use cups cannot be recycled in Australia at the moment. They must go to landfill, and there's enormous confusion around that. So we don't get excited about the fact that this waste problem has become worse. We genuinely want it solved. But that has meant that with our very simple, clear vision and understanding of waste streams and end of life generally, I think we're going to become everyone's favourite new toy.
Because if it's simple and it's easy to understand and it's easy to adopt, you're making it so much easier for people to do something different.
Yeah, we are a solution in a market where the single-use solutions are broken.
Amazing. Well, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, Karen. And I always love hearing what you're up to with our kinds and seeing how you guys are progressing and making a huge difference. So it's been absolutely wonderful speaking with you today. And yeah, looking forward to seeing more coming up soon.
Thanks a million, Michelle, and it's great to be interviewed as well. The more we spread the word, the easier it is for everyone involved in the movement. So, so much appreciated.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I love sharing what amazing things other people are doing. So thanks and have a great day.
Thanks, Michelle. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed meeting more of our extended network. If you'd like to support NepoPod, subscribe to the show, leave us a rating, and share this with your own circles. You can also learn more about our network and how to support us at nepopod.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.